I'm Brittany, this is Mo Run, and welcome to Gaywatch, where we watch and read gay things. We are beginning Volume 11 of Erha today. The rest of the bonus stories, of which there are apparently only 3 throughout this entire volume, which is very meat bun of meat bun to do. We read for a couple of hours, we take a break around halfway through, and we typically read about 45 to 50 pages, and today it's 50. If I understand correctly. There are a few things down in the description box. There is an evergreen link to the public version of the Gaywatch Discord if you're looking for more queer bookish chats. We have book chats at the beginning of my streaming days on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for patrons and YouTube members to talk about what we've been reading. It's a time, let me tell you. It's a good time. And also, there are trigger warnings down in the description box as well, should you need them. Now, we all know what my wish, what my one true desire is for these bonus stories. And since there are only 3, and one of them is evidently like a page long, I'm not underestimating Meat Bun to be able to give me what I'm very specifically asking for, even if the story itself is not from Shui Meng's point of view. But part of me is still going to take it as a big indication of whether or not she's going to give me what I want, depending on who the POV for a story is. Granted, since there are kind of essentially only 2, and there's an entire fucking volume, which I'm going to say a couple of times because that's wild, you know, she might do it anyway. She might figure out a way to pull it off. And she might make me think that it's not going to happen until it does. Such is her. But right now, we are on page... Yes! These things usually start on page 11. Yeah, we're on page 11 for chapter 1 of the first bonus story, which is called Shui Meng's Blind Date Adventures. So that's a positive indication, to put it mildly. And listen, I'll take whatever she wants to give me. Would I prefer something with OG timeline? Absolutely. Could she give me some modern AU satirical thing and have it happen that way? I would still be very happy about this. I'll take whatever she wants to give me. Keeping that in mind. In recent days, a new spiritual device had taken the cultivation world by storm. The Matching Scroll. Developed by Master Ma of Taobao Estate, only 2 lines of text appeared on the cover of the device's user guide in strong, bold calligraphy script. With scroll hand in hand, no need to dread. This magic item will get you wed. Okay. 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 All right. Shui Meng first learned of the matching scroll while training at Xisheng Peak's dancing sword platform. It's OG timeline. It's OG timeline. He wiped Long Chung down with a square of white silk and turned in irritation toward the Tao Bao estate, the Tao Bao estate disciple earnestly trying to recommend it to him. What the hell are you talking about? Why does Ma Yun think I need this kind of junk? Ma Zhuangju and Shui Zhengmen works too hard and doesn't have time to get to know any nice young ladies. Over the past 2 years, he's learned a lot from your Shizun Chuzongsha and made huge strides in refining magical devices. He wants to thank Xisheng Peak, so the matching scroll was designed specifically with Shui Zhengmen in mind. What? Ma was like, we need to get this man a wife. And there is no world in which this doesn't backfire horribly. According to Ma's goals here. It's already too funny. I'm already having too much fun. Okay. Also, this is Shui Zhengmen, so it's post. Okay. It's post main story timeline, which is actually a good thing because if what I want to happen was going to happen, it would be in exactly these circumstances. Like, we knew, I'm not even past the first page, I'm so sorry. We knew in some way, shape, or form that Chuaning and Moran that was going to happen, you know, in that way. We knew. So, like, as absolutely fucking dead as I was to experience that, it's the thing that you think might not happen, like genuinely, doesn't necessarily have to be given to you. It's that happening that could make me really, like, black out. And so you need to know that if I am actually given this thing for which I ask, Shui Meng was immediately incensed. Long Chung flashed, and the white handkerchief fluttered to the ground, sliced cleanly in half. For me? Absurd. Do I look like I can't get girls? You look like you don't want girls. The Tao Bao estate disciple looked the prime specimen sect leader Shui over from head to toe, swallowed hard, and nervously tried again. Well, if you prefer to get guys, we can help with that too. Did I not just... I've already won. Even if I don't get what I want, I feel like I already won the volume. I win volume 11 of Erha. Thank you. Shui Meng stared at him in silence, his face turning almost green with fury. In the brisk wind atop the dancing sword platform, he stabbed Long Chung back into its sheath and snapped, "Attendants!" "Yes, sect leader." "Get him out of here," Shui Meng said with a scowl. "At once, sect leader." Excuse me. Presumed straight. I didn't hear a denial. A wise choice on Shui Meng's part. Ma Yun was a business tycoon. He certainly wasn't that invested in matchmaking. It was true that he developed the matching scroll, and also true that it could identify suitable partners for cultivators. But to say Master Ma had done it for sect leader Shui's sake, well, that would be a big fat lie. There could be only one reason he was trying to pull Shui Meng into this, and that was simple. He wanted to attract female cultivators. This is what he's telling himself. After the last great battle, the cultivation realm had been turned on its head. Xisheng Peak became one of the greatest sects in the world overnight, and of course many entries in the god-knows-what rankings had to be reshuffled. Shui Meng himself ended up topping several charts, and he had swiftly become the newest heartthrob among girls his own age. The only thing he's going to top. would be my guess. As a businessman who kept his finger squarely on the pulse of things, Master Ma naturally monitored those best-selling God knows what rankings. One dark and stormy night, as he cheerfully ate watermelon and picked happily at his feet, he flipped through the newest rankings and clucked his tongue. Number 1 hero, Chu Waning, status in seclusion. Number 2 hero, Mo Wei Yu, status same as above. After spitting out a long stream of melon seeds, Master Ma mumbled to his trusted subordinate, if only they were single. If we could get them to sign on, girls would go crazy fighting to buy a matching scroll. Terrible shame. He held up the little sketch of Chu Wanning to drive home his point. See? You know, I never noticed before, but he's really quite a looker. Chu Zongshe is so handsome, the perfect picture of an ethereal immortal. Master Ma, do you have something you want to tell us? Sect leader, his subordinate replied docilely. I've never had any particular eye for beauty. It's best to keep me out of these discussions. And that's on Ace Era representation. Thank you. I can't afford to be this keyed up about this. We have 50 pages to read today. I've got my word cut out for me. Master Ma nodded. You're right. You do have bad taste. I'll keep my own counsel. But a mere few minutes later, his head popped back up. What do you think about Mei Han Shui? I'm a professional. The subordinate maintained his deferential air. He's surrounded by admirers even without a matchmaking device. He won't be interested. Oh, you're right about that one. Another few minutes passed. What about Jiang Shi? The man is ruthless. Sect leader, you're too kind and trusting. It's best not to do business with people like Zheng Zhenju unless you want to go flat broke. And I'm sorry to say, sir, given his temper, if he found out you wanted to use him as bait for girls to buy the matching scroll, he'd probably turn you into a human pig and send you to spend your golden years with the other swine in Guyue's pig pen. 1. True. 2. Low-key hilarious that he reached for Shui Meng's dad first. Unwittingly, but still. What kind of genes run in that family? Master Ma patted the man's head with a smile. Little guy, I love it when you give it to me straight. After more back and forth of the same kind, Master Ma made up his mind. Why don't we try Shui Meng? He might not rank highly in wealth or height, but his face is top of the line. He's a newly minted sect leader, plus he's about the right age for such things. Well, why not? Send someone to talk him into it, will you? And thus was born the nonsensical spiel the Taobao estate disciple had whipped out before the handsome young sect leader. Shui Meng was furious. He'd gotten much better at reining in his temper ever since he'd taken up his position as sect leader, so the sight of him in such a temper was rare indeed. Sect leader, what's wrong? Asked the Xuanji elder carefully. Is something bothering you? Shui Meng gritted his teeth. I don't get it, he squeezed out. Plenty of people are single. Why's that Ma bastard so hung up on me? The Xuanji elder was sharp as a tack. He quickly realized Shui Meng had been jabbed in a sore spot. You're the sect leader now, he said. It's only natural for people to pay more attention to you. Why doesn't he go pay Jiang Shi that attention? Jiang Zhongmen looks young, but he's gotten on in years after all. When he was young, he had plenty of admirers too. Again, what kind of gene pool? This only upset Shui Meng further. A pang went through his heart as he thought of his mother, and how callous Jiang Yichen had been in his youth. How much had his mom suffered at the hands of that man? But his relationship with Jiang Shi was a deadly secret, so he merely cursed and changed the subject. Then why doesn't that Ma bastard go talk to... Then why doesn't that Ma bastard go talk to Mei Han Shui? The Xuanji elder favored him with a wry smile. Sect leader, if Mei Shenzhong were on the marriage market, both the upper and lower cultivation realms would devolve into chaos yet again. Shui Meng fell silent. Then... But no matter how long he stuttered, he couldn't come up with a third eligible bachelor. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What the hell was the first eligible bachelor that he came up with? So much. What the hell was the first one? Because so far we have Zhang Shi, who is his father, who then therefore bears some level of resemblance to him, and Mei Han Shui. And those are the only two eligible, emphasis on eligible, bachelors that he can come up with. Which could mean nothing. Where the fuck am I? Back when Shui Jingyong had urged his son to find a partner, he had still been able to hide behind Chu Wanning and Mo Run. But if he were to bring them up now, he'd look only more pitifully alone. Frustration stuck in Shui Meng's chest like a rock, becoming more firmly lodged the more he tried to get rid of it. The rims of his eyes went red in indignation. But it doesn't make any sense, he snapped, giving up. If or when I get married is none of their business. Maybe they should get a life. Goodbye. With a haughty sweep of his sleeves, a move learned from his Shizun, he stalked away. That's a scene break. I'm having so much fun, I can't read properly, so I apologize. I am so sorry. Oh, Henry has correctly invoked the nickname Mean Bun. Yeah, she's so fucking mean. She's so mean. She's so mean. He sweeps his sleeves like his shizit. God. Shui Meng earnestly wished for Master Ma's newest project to end in failure, but reality, as it so often did, refused to obey his wishes. Even without Shui Meng's help, the matching scroll swept through the cultivation world like wildfire just a few months later. What's wrong with the world these days? Shui Meng asked in furious disbelief. Does everyone have so much free time on their hands? The Xuanji elder was much more even-handed in his assessment. Now, that's not fair. New Year's was 2 months ago, sect leader. Over the holidays, all the elders in the family urged the young ones to hurry up and get married. Ma Zhuangju's matching scroll might have just solved the most pressing issue for a great deal of the Zhenghu's youth. It makes perfect sense they'd sell out. Shui Meng said nothing. And I heard the scroll is a clever little device. Even if you're not trying to find a partner, it's fun to play with a new gadget. How so? I'm not sure, said Xuanji gently. But the Tenlong elder picked one up to see what all the fuss was about. He says it's boring, but 9 out of 10 times when I go to his place, he's fiddling with it. That shocked Shui Meng. Isn't the Tenlong elder uninterested in remarrying? Of course he's uninterested, Xuanji smiled. He's just childish that way. He likes shiny new things. The scroll is entertaining him. Shui Meng stared. Tenlong, childish? He didn't know what to say. Xuanji and Tenlong had joined Xisheng Peak at the same time. Tenlong had always been caustic and standoffish. He and Chu Wanning mixed about as well as fire and water. Xuanji was the only one who could not only start a conversation with Chu Wanning, but also soothe Tenlong's ruffled feathers. And perhaps... Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Xuanji was the only one who could not only start a conversation with Chu Wanning, but also soothe Tenlong's ruffled feathers. Xuanji was the only one who could soothe Tenlong's ruffled feathers. I'm just making observations. It could mean nothing. And perhaps the only one who could so easily call the acid-tongued Tenlong childish as well. Xuanji elder chuckled. Sect leader, if you're curious, why don't you get one and see? Shui Meng cleared his throat. Never. he said haughtily. I stand as the leader of the whole sect. Of course I have no interest in shoddy little trinkets. That's a scene break. The very next night, the lights in Loyalty Hall blazed bright behind its tightly sealed sandalwood doors. Sect leader Shui had announced that he would cultivate in seclusion that night. You know, they say too much solo cultivation. Never mind. He ordered all the high-ranking disciples who served him to stand guard outside the doors with instructions that he was not to be disturbed even if the world was ending, with an exception made for the Yuheng Elder, if he should happen to come down from Nanping Mountain. All the disciples admired sect leader Shui for his tireless drive. Moved, each of them loyally swore not to let their guard down for a moment. What none of them knew was that sect leader Shui was presently sitting on the rebuilt dais of Loyalty Hall, studying a jade scroll. Upon its surface were embossed the words, "Matching Scroll." Yes, precisely so. Master Ma's best-selling device. It just arrived earlier that day. Mindful of his image, Shui Meng had made sure to order it under the Xuanji Elder's name. So now it's the Xuanji Elder who's on record with getting a okay. His boyfriend Tanlong's not going to be happy about that, but all right. If Tanlong could be childish and play around with it, then sure. Not interested in remarrying? Sorry, I got things clicking away in the background here. Just things are coming together here. The young sect leader Shui studied the matching scroll carefully. He could tell it was made of a special jade and suffused with spiritual energy. Golden text in a flowing hand appeared on its surface at will. Visually, at least, it was a beautiful item. Shui Meng did as the user guide said and recited the unsealing incantation. The lamp, still lit, joined by dawn's frosty hue, a lone sleeper rises from a bed meant for two. How long is the night for one who yet yearns? Far longer still than the world's twists and turns. That comes with a footnote. From 3 verses of Swallow Tower by Tang Dynasty poet Zhang Zhongsu. I'm sure that is a perfectly legitimate and innocent poem. I am just a 13-year-old boy sometimes, okay? After this sappy little couplet was read aloud, new lines of text unfurled mischievously atop the jade scroll. Excuse me, am I going to be reading scroll dialogue? The scroll is gonna, not like speak, but you know, it's a scroll. Text. Its text is in italics, which is inconvenient for people who are, you know, not visually like reading the actual thing. But we're still gonna, oh God, I wonder, I can't, you know, come up with an idea for any kind of voice for the scroll, but goddamn, if I think of one, I'ma use it. Well, well, well. Spring has come and even the swallows have paired off, but Qianzheng, still no luck for you. Shui Meng stared. Place your trust in Taobao Estate and allow yourself a chance at love. Avoid the awkwardness of matchmakers and break barriers between the upper and lower cultivation realms. With the matching scroll, you'll never again be jealous of other people's romance. Find your own love story. That's what we're doing, I think. Shui Meng stared harder. Please pick a username. Huh? A name? Clueless yet determined to do this right, Shui Meng picked it up and enunciated carefully. My name is Shui, he said. Shui Meng. The scroll remained inert. Or Shui Ziming, he added. This time, new gold text appeared. A gentle reminder from Master Ma, when using the scroll, please use a nickname such as Jack of all trades Ma, or, 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 Beth Jezos. This device was developed by Taobao Estate of Westlake. All usernames starting with the characters Guiyue will be rejected. Thank you. Shuimeng frowned. Did Jiangxi set that Ma bastard off again? His personal opinions about Jiangxi aside, Guiyue's enemies had nothing to do with him. Looking around, Shuimeng glimpsed his mom's orange cat veggie bun puddled on the carpet, licking his paw. Call me Veggie Bun, he said to the scroll. He patted the cat on the head. Sorry, let me borrow your name for a bit. She's specifically riffing off of her own name for a reason here that I unfortunately don't know enough about her yet to be able to glean, but Veggie Bun versus Meat Bun is not a fucking coincidence. Oh my god, Zareem, isn't that her actual cat's name? Is it? That's too funny. It is! How hard is she going to clown this poor man? The cat ducked out from under his hand and continued grooming itself. Shuimeng sensed derision in that feline gaze. Veggiebun seemed to be telling him something. After some thought, realization dawned. All of Xisheng Peak knew his mom's cat's name was Veggiebun. If he went by such a name, wouldn't his identity be totally obvious? It wouldn't work at all. Sighing, Shuimeng stroked the cat again. You're so thoughtful. Sect leader Shui pondered the problem. He stared at his mother's potted polio flowers, then at the paintings of Jiang Nan his father had hung on the wall, and ended up choosing a name devoid of a single ounce of creativity. Call me Wang Xiaoshui. Xisheng Peak's terrible naming skills were, it appeared, hereditary. Shui Zhengyang had given Shimei the name Shuiya, little girl, and coined the Ah and Hua cliffs. Mo Run had named his holy weapon Jiangui, what the hell, and now Shuimeng had picked the username Wang Xiaoshui. Wang, his mother's surname, and Xiaoshui as in Shui Jr. None of them was in any position to talk. Presented with this terrible choice of a username, the Jade Scroll proceeded to make a happy little mistake. The gold text that appeared after Shuimeng finished speaking was, got it, Wang Xiaoshui Shenjin. Shuimeng's mouth fell open in astonishment. I said Wang Xiaoshui as in Shui Jr., not Wang Little Snowflake, okay? New gold text appeared. The spell to change usernames is still in development. Apologies, Wang Xiaoshui Shenjin. Edits are currently not possible. All of a sudden, I'm in a self-saving system all over again. I can't even drink. I no longer have any control over basic faculties. And we haven't even... All right. Shuimeng's temper was rising. You're the one who heard wrong, he thought. Why can't it be edited? But there was no point getting mad at an inanimate object. After all, it was just a toy to fiddle with. Who cared what it thought? Fine, whatever. Shuimeng was out of patience. Wang Little Snowflake it is. Girly-ass name, but whatever. I've read enough fan fiction to know where this is going, okay? Wang Xiaoshui Shenjun. So I can get to know you better. Please follow the matching scroll's prompts and complete the questionnaire. Once you've finished, the matching scroll will show you the candidates that suit you best. May you swiftly find your other half, an ideal partner in life. Shuimeng wasn't interested in any ideal partner, but he was curious who, in all the vastness of the cultivation world, the matching scroll would identify as the most likely candidates. Go ahead, he said boldly. First question. Have you ever had your heart broken? Starting off strong, it seemed. Stroking his chin, Shuimeng said, no. Great. Second question. Have you ever dated anyone? No. Great. Third question. Have you ever had a crush on anyone? No. Great. Fourth question. Has anyone ever confessed their feelings to you? No. This time, the jade scroll didn't compliment him. It hesitated slightly before the next line of gold text appeared. Have you been cursed to repeat yourself forever? No means no, said Shuimeng grumpily. What do you mean, repeat myself? Should I be making things up? Apologies. My mistake. Question 5. How old are you this year? Shuimeng didn't want to say his exact age. 20-something, he mumbled. Thank you. Wang Xiaoshui Shanzhong, in the past 20-something years of life, you've never dated, never had a crush, never been confessed to, and never had your heart broken. Correct. Understood, Wang Xiaoshui Shanzhong. I will ask the 6th question shortly, but before that, I'd like to know if you prefer those who are honest or those who beat around the bush. Shuimeng scowled. Ridiculous. I prefer honest people. Who likes beating around the bush? Very well. The jade scroll wouldn't sugarcoat it. 6th question. Are you very ugly? Shuimeng was totally flabbergasted. After a moment of silence, the disciples outside Loyalty Hall heard the sound of something smashing, as well as the orange cat's terrified yowl. It had to be said that Taobao Estate's magical devices had improved greatly within the last few years. The matching scroll stayed whole and unharmed despite Shuimeng's assault, the lines of glittery gold text continuing to persuade Sect Leader Shui to finish answering the last few questions. When the questionnaire was completed, 20 illusory playing cards materialized and flew one after another into Shuimeng's hands. Or rather, they looked like playing cards. Instead of suits, they were printed with vague and whimsical descriptions of 20 different cultivators. Congratulations! Not ugly, but still single for over 20 years, Wang Xiaoshui Shenjun. Savage scroll. According to our calculations, the 20 people most compatible with your soul in the world are hidden in these 20 cards, awaiting your discovery. Shuimeng didn't believe a word of it. Back in the gourd of debauchery, lines of dialogue when you can say back in the gourd of debauchery, where he should have seen his bride, all he'd seen was his own face. There was probably no one in the world who would pique his interest, but after only the briefest hesitation, he succumbed to temptation and leafed through the cards. Sect Leader Shui had named himself Wang Xiaoshui Shenjun, and likewise, his matches hadn't been so bold as to use their real names. The first card Shuimeng drew was a lady who went by the name Dayflower. The matching scroll's description of her followed. Dayflower Shanzhong, draped in diaphanous silks and glittering with jewels, subtly alluring and quietly reserved. Has a high status and many valuable possessions. Experienced in dealing with bad debts and running the family business. Dislikes being approached and prefers to stay at home. Dayflower Shanzhong is often inundated with admirers, but remains aloof and ignores them all. A lofty alpine flower, desired by many yet impossible to pluck. Hobbies, tending to plants, and caring for the sick. This has to be someone that we know, but who? It sounds familiar, but I can't. Someone's going to have to help me out. There's a scene break after that, too. Yeah! Yeah. That's that ma'am from Rainbow. Is it Rainbow Isle chick? That's what was trying to occur to me. Oh, no. Yeah, love is right. Here starts the game of Guess Who. This is going to drive me nuts. I hate her. This first card, seen before any of the rest of the stack, shocked Shuimeng to his core. This girl sounded like an absolutely stunning cold beauty, untouched by the filth of her surroundings, completely independent and not reliant on any man, experienced in homemaking and kind of heart. Most importantly, her hobbies were unnervingly similar to his own mother, Madame Wang's. How rare. As a filial son who idolized his mother, Shui Meng had been convinced since childhood that he could do no wrong by marrying a girl with Madame Wang's temperament. Anyone who knew his mom could see how well she'd taken care of him and his dad. Shui Meng was sorely tempted, but he remained suspicious. If such an unbelievable catch existed in the cultivation world, how had he never heard of her? He was struck by a faint sense that something was not quite right. Shui Meng held that sparkling golden card up and read it again. Strangely enough, the more he read it, the more he felt that the description was oddly familiar. But who was it? Why wasn't it coming to mind? It's the end of the chapter. Oh my god. Whew. Shui Meng had a, I'm so sorry. We're on page 23 for chapter 2. These chapters don't have titles. Shui Meng had only been curious about the best-selling matching scroll. He hadn't intended to actually make use of it, yet alone do as the scroll suggested and meet up with any of the eligible ladies on the cards. There were likely many others of the same mindset, but as far as Master Ma was concerned, such an attitude was bad for business. Magical devices, you know? They had to be properly used, not just played with. Otherwise, they'd quickly be tossed into a forgotten corner and left to collect dust. A few days later, a powerful incentive appeared on all the jade scrolls across the realm. Starting today, everyone actively using the matching scroll to find a partner will be automatically added to Taobao Estate's VIP list. In 3 months' time, regardless of whether you find your match or not, Ma Duangzhu will select one of the most active users to receive Taobao Estate's Super Ultimate Gift Bundle. We invite everyone to participate. Both the upper and lower cultivation realms went wild over the announcement, which instantly became the hottest topic of conversation. The Super Ultimate Gift Bundle. Did you guys see what's in it? Passerby number 1 liked money best. Sure did. It's amazing. 180 books of high-grade techniques, 1,000 fine spirit stones, 100 Taobao Estate coupons, 10 classified Taobao Estate device blueprints. It's unbelievable. No wonder he's the model for benevolent business and the second richest merchant in the cultivation world. Passerby number 2 had different ambitions. He's not just rich, he's also daring on top of it, okay? Some people already have plenty of money, but now that they've gone and made classified blueprints part of the prize, obviously people will want to study them. Passerby number 3 had put the most thought into it. You plebes. You plebes! I'm nothing like you. I'm not interested in any of these jewels, devices, or blueprints. But I hear there are 500 single editions of rare erotic books and smutty novels included. They're saying none of them have ever been distributed before. If I'm selected, that's the rest of my life handled. Meat Bun might have 1 or 2 opinions. The others all rolled their eyes. Pathetic. But Master Ma's treasure chest had undeniably hooked almost all the cultivators. Between the greedy, the nerdy, and the horny, there was something there to tempt them all. Master Ma had said it himself. You didn't need to find a partner. All you needed to do was actively use the matching scroll. Even if you remained sad and single at the end of the 3 months, you were still eligible for the draw. Greedy, nerdy, and horny. Oh my god. A very different Three Little Pigs. It was a minimal commitment for a high reward. Countless cultivators who'd only been playing with the scroll idly made up their minds to go for the prize. Among them was the poor, penniless sect leader of Xisheng Peak, darling of the heavens, Shui Ziming. That's a scene break. Shui Meng flipped again through those 20 cards. He'd already read through the introductions and thought they were all decent choices, but the first one, Dayflower, still seemed the best. Maybe because he'd seen her first. Active use of the matching scroll required meeting one's matches in real life. and a very special first meeting it would be. Master Ma wanted everyone to seek true kindred spirits, meaning physical appearance was an afterthought, and his solution was a simple one. When two people met, they both had to wear one of Taobao Estate's specially designed illusory brocade sachets. This sachet altered the wearer's voice and appearance in the eyes of others, and since both parties knew they were seeing an illusion, they would hopefully try, with greater patience, to get to know one another beyond physical appearances. Only once the pouch was removed would the illusion dissipate. Then and only then would they behold each other in truth. Read enough fan fiction, etc., etc. A greedy salesman Master Ma might have been, but he had put his heart into his work. For the sake of helping all the poor singletons in the cultivation realm find their one true love, he'd really given it his all. Thus, Shui Meng made arrangements to meet Miss Dayflower. His motives were the opposite of pure. He had no real interest in finding a life partner and a great deal of interest in Taobao Estate's gift bundle, but Shui Meng was sect leader after all. As a young boy, he'd been able to shout back at little girls without a second thought, but now that he was head of his sect, he owed it to his position to conduct himself with the appropriate decorum. I'm so sorry. That bullet took a second to hit me square between the eyes. I just realized that Shui Meng's a virgin. Okay. To repeat one of Xuanji's most common reminders, sect leader, your actions and words represent more than just yourself. They represent Xisheng Peak. To avoid bringing shame down on Xisheng Peak, then, Shui Meng carefully prepared for his date. In truth, this would be his very first time going on a date with a girl. To say he wasn't nervous would be a lie. Sect leader Shui appeared unruffled and at ease, but he was in fact feeling rather faint. The night before, he'd lain in bed reading Dayflower's card over and over, eyes drawn again and again to the mention of her high status and valuable possessions. This girl had to be loaded. That's what we're focusing on. All right. That doesn't matter, Shui Meng told himself. He may not have been ranked anywhere in the god-knows-what rankings, wealth category, but he had possession of several mountain peaks after all. His match was just some little girl. Could she be richer than him? Could her position be higher than his? Absolutely not. Right, when they met, he definitely had to take her to the most luxurious restaurant and order the most lavish dishes. He had to outdo her and make sure she knew he was the greatest catch in the lower cultivation realm. Under the mistaken belief he was going to flex his wealth, and dreaming of how Miss Dayflower would look at him with eyes sparkling with admiration and gasp, "Wang Xiaoshi Guga, you're so rich!" A goofy grin appeared on Shui Meng's face. Hugging Longcheng, he blearily fell asleep. Just going out on a limb here. That was a scene break, by the way. Just going out on a limb here. But I think if, a guy who's never had experiences with a girl before is about to go on his first date with a girl, there's usually at least some mention of potential something. We don't just focus on money and impressing her with your money. You know what I'm saying? The next day, Shui Meng rose bright and early. He fastened the Taobao Estate brocade sachet to his waist, as required, and flew to the city of Yangzhou to meet his date. Before he left, he'd made sure to ask Xuanji which was the best restaurant in Yangzhou, and looked at the prices in advance. The figures he saw there would hurt his wallet, but for the sake of Xisheng Peak's reputation, it was worth it. Everyone knew you couldn't cower in the face of a rich young lady. When he sent the message inviting her to meet him at Sunrise Pavilion via the scroll, he'd done so with a haughty smirk on his face. The fanciest restaurant in Yangzhou. Take that. Shui Meng could almost see the eligible young maiden waking up in her room and spotting the name of their meeting place as it appeared on the scroll. Her eyes would widen, her red lips would part as she murmured, voice breathy, "So he really is a man of refined taste." While he was still deep in his reverie, the scroll in his hand lit up with one word. Sure. Sure. That was it. Shui Meng nearly toppled off Longcheng in midair. It was one thing if she didn't express overwhelming joy or surprise, but not even a thank you. Where was this girl even from? How impolite. He sat on his sword in a huff. The scroll lit up again as he sailed over the Yangtze River. Dayflower had once again sent a message. Sunrise Pavilion is quite busy today. If you don't mind a change of plans, we can go somewhere else. I'll make the reservation. Shui Meng's dark mood lightened a little. Oh, this girl was pretty considerate, wasn't she? Happy to treat a guy on the first date. Then her earlier curt message was probably just because she wasn't good at expressing herself, like his Shizun. Shui Meng sat up straighter at the thought of Chu Wanning. That's right, he thought. He ought to be more forgiving. After all, she was a young lady. Even if she turned out to be rude, he should take it upon himself to be the bigger person. That's on the Chu Wanning influence. I meant it when I said it's my treat, he said. We don't need to go somewhere else. After a few minutes, he got his reply. Sure. Shui Meng blinked, but he was now accustomed to her tone. He wasn't angry. He kicked his feet on Longcheng, the scimitar slicing through the skies, out of the misty clouds and down toward the waterways of Jiangnan. Yangzhou appeared on the horizon. He'd arrived a little early. Shui Meng walked through the bustling streets, idly looking around. Yangzhou was Guyue's territory. It was filled with thronging crowds and bursts of color, the picture of a prosperous city. Lining the streets were uncles offering pedicure services and aunties selling flowers. The ladies lazily hawked their wares, every word out of their mouths spoken in the familiar cadence of his mom's mellow accent. It brought back happy memories, and Shui Meng grew relaxed. He bought a lollipop from the sugar painting stall and walked around eating it. As the meeting time approached, he wandered toward the shores of Shushi Lake, where Sunrise Pavilion lay. It was indeed very busy, and every guest seemed to be wearing Taobao Estate's illusory brocade sachet. A great many cultivators had decided to participate in Master Ma's prize draw, and apparently all of them were peacocking by picking the fanciest venue in town. Speechless, Shui Meng studied the bustle in the main dining hall and turned to the server that came to greet him. I booked a room upstairs under He cleared his throat. Under Wang? Last name Wang. He paused, then awkwardly stated his full name. Wang Xiaoshui. The swarm of cultivators who'd come for blind dates must have deadened the server's senses. He didn't even blink at the idiocy of such a name. What was Wang Little Snowflake in comparison to a whole list of Jiao Big Dick Tagans and Du Belly Button Jians? He led Shui Meng upstairs without comment. The wind room, sir. As requested, it has a view. Shui Meng peered inside. Incredible. These Jiangnan folks were sure something. They called it a room, but the walls were just flimsy bamboo screens. They were finely woven, to be sure, and very well crafted, allowing one to glimpse the silhouettes of the manicured plants behind them. Beautiful, but also false advertising. Anything above a whisper would be overheard by every guest around them. Well, he couldn't do anything about it now. Shui Meng took a seat just as the scroll lit up with another message from Dayflower. Just finished with an important business client. I'm on my way, but I'll be late. Shui Meng stared at those words for a long, long time. Had he perhaps met an expert at blind dates? This was a step too far. She hadn't even shown up yet and was already flaunting her wealth. Instead of arriving dripping in jewels or bragging about how many buildings she owned, she was out here subtly constructing a high-powered persona, casually dropping that she had important clients visiting early in the morning. She couldn't have made a starker contrast with Sect Leader Shui, who'd spent the whole morning wandering aimlessly about town. Yeah, it's not like Shui Meng trying to flaunt wealth he didn't have and posture in his own way. Not at all. Shui Meng took a sip of tea. This woman is sharp. He may have lost this round, but once she showed up, he'd knock her off that high horse and make damn sure she knew that he, Shui Ziming, wasn't broke. That is the end of the chapter. Oh, and a well-timed end of the chapter it is. All right. We're on page 31 for chapter 3 of this, and we're gonna take a break since we're coming up on 4 o'clock, and when we come back we'll pick up with chapter 3. I kind of already know what the poll is gonna be, so hang out in the Gaywatch garden, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Alrighty. I'm having too much fun. Okay, back in a moment. And we're back. So, according to the poll, most people think that Dayflower is just some girl or like someone else. Just someone else. Just some person to like break the ice as like this first date, and then we'll get to the maze later. Which, considering that this basically has to take up probably a significant, portion of the book, unless the other long one is really long and practically a whole volume unto itself, I would say that there's enough time for this first date to just be someone and not really matter all that much before we get to the big one, right? I do think, like with the second most popular choice in the poll, that it is going to somehow wind up being both of them again. Once I had that thought while I was putting it in the poll, I was like, there's no way she doesn't do that again. The only way she doesn't pull it's actually two people thing again, just for funsies, is because she somehow came up with something that would be like even funnier or even better somehow, which would be a real cute trick, because getting to play it's actually two people card again would be god tier. So we're on page 31 for chapter 3. By the time he heard the server say, "This way to the wind room," Shui Meng was close to losing his temper. The woman was finally here. Shui Meng wiped the displeasure from his face and straightened in his seat. Mimicking his dad's mature and manly aura, he looked in the newcomer's direction. Unhurried footsteps grew louder on the stairs, and a blurry silhouette came past the half-rolled bamboo hangings. First to emerge was a silver pipe chased with dragons, from which a pale green pouch embroidered with pollia flowers hung. The fingers tapping the body of the pipe were long and slender, fine-boned and beautiful. A tiny cinnabar mole was visible on the side of the pale wrist. This all being an illusion. Shui Meng seemed to remember seeing such hands elsewhere, but the memory was hazy as flowers viewed through fog. In another moment, it slipped away from him. Shit. I'm so deliberately not looking at chat right now? But crap. I don't even know how. It's not like I have a specific idea. I just know that that's telling. He was still lost in thought when his date stepped into the room. The matching scroll had said, "Once equipped, the blind date brocade pouch would cloak the wearer in an illusion. To others, you would look like a combination of yourself and what they thought you should look like." In short, Dayflower definitely looked nothing like this. She looked the way Shui Meng imagined her to look, with just a hint of her actual appearance. She's going to drive me insane. What do you... That just makes me want to go back and reread the description. Although we haven't gotten to... We haven't gotten to the face yet. Shui Meng thought this lady cultivator should look a bit like his mother. We don't have time to unpack all that. And so the girl who stepped out from behind the bamboo did indeed resemble Madame Wong. Her skin was very fair, her features elegant yet gentle, her faintly furrowed brows hinted at a fragile, sickly nature. It was as if a boulder had struck him in the chest. Shui Meng jolted to his feet, and for good reason. Anyone would startle at the sight of a woman who looked even somewhat like their late beloved mother. Though Shui Meng knew it was an illusion, it still made his heart pound. He opened his mouth, the word mom on the tip of his tongue. "Thanks, meat bun!" Thankfully, the server followed her in, bringing Shui Meng crashing back to reality. Stuttering, Shui Meng wrenched that half-formed syllable into "milady." "You're Wang Shui." Dayflower's voice was cool and crisp. Despite the spell at work, it didn't sound anything like Madame Wong's. Yeah? Her bright brown almond eyes assessed him. It was an unsettling experience. For some reason, Shui-Meng was certain Dayflower was looking at him with an inherent derision and indolence, mixed with a hint of impatience. My memory is poor, said Dayflower. I'm apt to call people by the wrong name if I don't pay attention. I'll call you Wang Shenjiang, if that suits. It was phrased like a question, but it didn't sound like one at all. Frankly, it was downright imperious. How had he thought this person was like his mom for even a second? But he was the head of Xisheng Peak after all. Thanks to the Xuanji elders' careful training, Shui Ziming was much more tactful than he used to be. Maintaining the aura of a sect leader, he cleared his throat. Sure, it's nice to meet you. Master Ma was an innovative man. He'd set up all sorts of spells on the brocade pouch in the name of making sure nothing would get in the way of his users finding a soulmate. In addition to seeing an illusory version of their match's face while wearing the pouch, the user could make no attempts to guess at their age, height, physique, or gender. Thus, the muting spell triggered before Shui-Meng could say the words, Miss Dayflower. The message was loud and clear. Age, height, body, looks, even gender, none of that was important in finding your fated other half. Would the assembled cultivators please focus on the soul that lay beneath the skin? Shui-Meng hadn't realized how much thought Master Ma had put into this matter. He merely assumed the pouch was defective, so he frowned and picked a different address. Dayflower Shenjiang. Dayflower loftily acknowledged the greeting and sat down across from Shui-Meng without further ado. Shui-Meng blinked. Miss, weren't you going to bow in greeting, or at least say it's nice to meet me? Miss Dayflower glanced coolly across the table at him and nodded. Please sit. No need to remain standing. Shui-Meng's jaw dropped. Had he encountered such rudeness in the past, he would certainly have stomped his feet and started yelling, but now he endured the indignity in silence. He was the biggest catch of the lower cultivation world, a sect leader in possession of several mountain peaks, a grown man who was going to brighten Xisheng Peak's future in his daddy's name. No, sir, he wasn't going to lose his temper at some little maiden. Keeping this firmly in mind, Shui-Meng retook his seat across from Dayflower. His back was straight as a ruler as he passed her the menu. What would you like to drink? Dayflower seemed uninterested in the question. Whatever, she said. Take your pick. She leaned back against the red sandalwood official's chair and added some tobacco to her pipe. You smoke? An adjusted prescription. Dayflower didn't even look at him. It has no effect on other people. Hold on, but you're so young. Who said I was young? Shui-Meng's eyes widened. Then how old are you? Dayflower leaned against the window frame. She lit her pipe with a flick of her fingers and took an apathetic drag, then slowly exhaled smoke. None of your business. Shui-Meng ground his teeth. I swear to God, I've been thinking the same thing that Chad is thinking. And if it's Zhang Shi and she does that to this poor man, he's officially the whipping boy of this entire series. Focus. Thank you. Not me. This. Thank you. Well, it's either Jiangxi or Mei Hanshui, but the thing is that if it's Jiangxi, he's never going to use it again. So how else are we going to get into the maze of it all if that happens? Also, said Dayflower with a tilt of her delicate jaw. She gestured at the brocade pouch hanging from Shui Meng's belt. That Ma bastard set up a bunch of restriction spells. I couldn't have answered your question before the pouch was removed regardless. Relax. I didn't come see you for the sake of finding a match anyway. Shui Meng jolted. Fuck, wasn't that his line? Even if neither party was taking this blind date seriously, being the first to say it was a matter of utmost importance, the second would look like a goddamn clown. He could practically honk his own nose right now. Not only did he feel like a fool, he was now convinced this girl was much more experienced than he was. Otherwise, how would she know to beat him to the punch? She must have been dragged to 1,000 matchmaking dates and been rejected 1,000 times for being too much of a prickly snob. That had to be it. Shui Meng's handsome face had taken on a distinctly greenish tinge. Did you think I was here to find a match? To tell you the truth, my own background's nothing to sneeze at. The line of suitors hoping to marry into my family goes from Yangzhou all the way to Sichuan. Dayflower eyed him dispassionately. Before the words left his mouth, Shui Meng had felt like a badass. As he met his date's eyes, he felt like a buffoon. Dayflower's next words, said in that same unaffected tone, deepened this impression. She took another drag on her pipe and turned to the server lingering at her elbow, who looked positively bored by the proceedings. The plum terrace set for this Shenzhong. Shui Meng's eyes widened. Didn't I say I'd be ordering? I'm a regular here, rich Madame Dayflower said, unmoved. Plum Terrace is sweet, perfect for wet behind the ears juniors like you. Shui Meng was even angrier now. So mad he wasn't tempted in the least by the tea tray when it came to their table. So what if it looked good? The tea was clear and the cakes were glistening, but he wouldn't touch a bite. Aren't you going to have any? Asked Dayflower. What's it to you? Huffed Shui Meng. I love wasting money. Dayflower's almond eyes slanted him a look, cool through the pale gray smoke of her pipe. Wang Shenzhong, are you perhaps from Taobao Estate of Westlake? No. A wealthy merchant family in Linyi? Nope. A pause. A disciple of Guiyue in Yangzhou? Guiyue? Who wants to be from Guiyue? Shui Meng scoffed. Forget being a disciple. I wouldn't accept their gifts even if their sect leader Zhang Shi himself came begging on his knees. Meat Bun, don't do this to him. Don't do this to him. We're never going to get him between the maze if you do this to him. Oh. For some reason, Dayflower arched an eyebrow. What's with that look? Asked Shui Meng. Don't believe me. Dayflower sneered in lieu of an answer. She took another puff on her pipe. If you're such a big deal, order a few more dishes. I haven't had breakfast yet. Shui Meng was deeply annoyed with this woman already, but he wasn't about to let a lady starve. He picked up the menu. What would you like? The exquisites, 18 ways. I order it every time I come here. Sure, why not? Shui Meng launched into a fit of coughing. The price next to the listing nearly made his eyes bulge out of their sockets. You order this every time you come here? And a pot of Jingcheng Spring Dew, with leaves plucked before the Qingming festival only. Blood seemed to boil in Shui Meng's chest. Even a little pat from a cat's paw right now could have made him spit blood with sufficient velocity to splatter several yards away. If he hadn't been the one to pick the venue, he'd have suspected this Miss Dayflower of being a Sunrise Pavilion employee in disguise trying to hook him in a honey trap. The meal left sect leader Shui's heart aching and his wallet half empty. By the time they left, he was unsteady on his feet. Are you feeling unwell? Faced with Dayflower's frowning question, sect leader Shui, in his damned pride, instantly pretended nothing was wrong. Huh? No, I feel fine. Great even. You should see a doctor if you're sick. Shui Meng's eyes widened. You're sick? This sect leader... He coughed. I'm healthy as a horse. Is that so? Every syllable was clipped and cynical, conjuring the astringent scent of medicinal herbs. Your core is weak, your back is sore, and you struggle with inflammation. Cut your hair and get a real job. He's this close to saying it. The classic parental lines, you know? Her almond eyes raked over Shui Meng, making him feel he was being dissected from shin to skullcap. I'd advise you to seek help. Silence. What on earth had he been thinking? Not all girls who gravitated toward healing were as wonderful as his mom. Some were assholes who made your skin crawl just by looking at you. But the current biggest cause of his discomfort was the matching scroll's rules. When two users met, they had to interact for at least 6 hours. Otherwise, the day didn't count toward their activity? 6 hours? I mean, granted, you know, all of my best dates were like 6 to 12 hours, but that's me, and I'm weird, and I like weird people who like to talk. So I'm the outlier. 6 hours. He'd come too far and spent too much to go home empty-handed. This girl had made her complete disinterest in him clear from the get-go, tragically wounding Shui Meng's pride. Right then, he made up his mind on the following points. Within the next 5 hours... 5 hours? 5 hours? That painful meal only took 1 hour. Within the next 5 hours, he had to put on an air of mysterious wealth. Yes, like he was unimpressed by everything fancy and unfazed by anything rare. He'd make sure this condescending little miss regretted every choice she'd made today. At the very least, he'd leave a memorable mark in her history of failed love affairs. Oh, it'll be memorable. But she hadn't blinked at being taken to Sunrise Pavilion, Yangzhou's finest restaurant. What other venue could he intimidate her with? After some thought, a name came to mind. Newly energized, Sect Leader Shui put his nose in the air like a wealthy merchant. We hardly know each other, he said pompously. Shenjiang need not worry over my health. We have to spend the rest of the day together, and standing here doing nothing won't do. Why don't I take you somewhere special, broaden your horizons a bit? I can't do this. Oh. It took Dayflower a beat to reply. What did you have in mind? Shui Meng brought her to the House of Everlasting Night. The 3-story building stood near the port of Yangzhou, the majestic arches of its eaves lined with sculpted creatures. All the locals knew it as a marketplace for stolen goods. The better part of all the shady items in the cultivation world supposedly passed through this glittering building, and the only reason it could stand so proudly in the Jianghu was that it was backed by Guyue. Once, when the young Shui Meng had planned to visit Jiangnan for fun, Madame Wang had specifically summoned him for a talk. She'd taken his hands and given him 100 trivial warnings about all sorts of things, but had ended on one memorable note. Monger, the House of Everlasting Night in Yangzhou is bad news. Not only are their wares very expensive, the things they trade in are rather... She couldn't quite bring herself to say it. Her pale cheeks colored, and she cleared her throat. All that to say, you don't have much in your pockets to begin with. Even if you go in for just a look, you're sure to come out penniless. If you see the House of Everlasting Night, you'd best turn aside and walk past it. Got it? No. 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 I can't even say it. I can't even. Oh. Shui Meng was a good boy who did everything his mother asked of him, and he was pure of mind, so he'd had no clue what she was hinting at. Sounds like a place where only rich idiots with too much money for their own good would go. Shui Jingyong had burst out laughing. Ah, yeah, he said to his son, who had, in fact, already come of age. Not really. Your mom always thinks of you as her little boy. She's too embarrassed to tell you, but your daddy isn't. There are some things. Madame Wang had elbowed him ferociously. Clutching his ribs, Shui Jingyong had coughed and changed his tune. There are some things you don't need to know about just yet. Don't send him to, like, a brothel or what have you with his bio dad. Don't. Shui Meng had looked at them in confusion, but his parents only smiled at him awkwardly. The poor little guy hadn't been able to make heads or tails of it, but thankfully Shimei had come to ask him for help picking herbs for Shizun in the back mountains, so he'd numbly followed him away. Even so, an impression had formed in Shui Meng's mind that day. If he ever saw the House of Everlasting Night, he was to turn around and walk away. It was full of pointlessly expensive things, and only people with gold coming out their ears would patronize it. To recover some of his lost dignity, oh, honey, I don't think that's going to be possible after this. And because he thought, as a sect leader, it was high time he broadened his own horizons, he led Miss Dayflower to this splendid gold and red building. Along the way, Dayflower asked him over and over again if he really was set on going to the House of Everlasting Night. To keep his composure from cracking, Shui Meng waved his hand and pushed out his chin, looking uncannily like a peacock fanning its tail feathers. You're a regular at Sunrise Pavilion, and I'm a top client at the House of Everlasting Night. Of course I'll take you there. Dayflower's expression went a bit strange. That's a scene break. Several minutes later, Shui Meng stood in front of the old manager at the House of Everlasting Night, red from his ankles to the roots of his hair and as stiff as if he'd been struck by lightning. Or other things. What do you mean, a VIP pendant? My mom never mentioned that. She said that you could go in whenever you wished. The manager eyed him sidelong. Your mom hasn't been to Yangzhou in over a decade, has she? The House of Everlasting Night changed its rules a long time ago. Only masters and mistresses with VIP pendants may enter to trade. If you don't have one, I'm afraid I'll have to insist you leave. Thank God! Shui Meng went to find a piece of tofu and smack himself to death. He'd already boasted about being a regular. Admitting he didn't have such a pendant would be the biggest pratfall, wouldn't it? He stuttered for an age before retorting, red and huffy. I forgot. I remember now. Yes, indeed. The manager kept his hands tucked in his sleeves. The old man had seen his share of humanity in this role, and Shui Meng's transparent excuse only amused him. This boy was far too naive and simple-minded. I left the house in a rush today, so I forgot it at home. How unfortunate. Please come again when you remember it. As Shui Meng glared at the condescending old man, caught between awkwardness and pitiful helplessness, a hand reached out beside him. Around that slender porcelain wrist hung a pendant that gleamed like jade, adorned with golden beads. I brought mine. The manager flinched at the sight of the pendant. A parade of expressions, beginning with shock and horror and moving into solicitous flattery, threatened to smooth out the many wrinkles on his face. Heaven tier VIP. Hurry up, said Dayflower coolly. Right away. The heavy sandalwood doors, covered in intricate carvings, swung outward. The manager bowed after them, coming just shy of falling to his knees in apology to Her Majesty, Miss Dayflower. The lady in question waved her pale green sleeves and turned, aloof, to the stupefied Shui Meng. Wang Shenzhong, she said scornfully. With all your experience, why don't you lead the way? Shui Meng could only gape. That's the end of the chapter. Jesus. Things are happening. We're on page 43. For chapter 4. Shuimeng was dead set on sticking to his story. Sure, I will. But all his confidence flew out the window as soon as they strode through the doors. What the hell kind of place was this? Were they all out of their minds? Those maidservants, what kind of clothes were they wearing? Why were some of them dressed like nine-tailed fox demons? He couldn't bear to look. All that skin, their chests, legs, and waists on brazen display. Wasn't Jiang Yuchen the big boss in Yangzhou? That rotten sleazeball. How dare he allow such a shady, disreputable business to set up shop so conspicuously in the middle of the city? Dayflower seemed to sense his discomfort. If Wang Shanjiang is unused to it, she said with a faint smile, we can go elsewhere. No need to force yourself to stay. Who said I was forcing myself? Have you ever heard of the God knows what rankings? It rings a bell. The words left Shuimeng's mouth before he could stop himself. I placed first on the debauchery list. Wasn't that Mei Hanshui? That's because I'm not a show-off, so I had them remove me. You can get names removed, Dayflower scoffed. How much did it cost you? None of your business. Rolling his eyes, Shuimeng marched ahead, though the tips of his ears were red and his arms and legs swung in tandem for the first few steps. He, better get railed so good for being put through all this. The establishment boasted 3 towering floors, but Shuimeng summarized them all in one phrase. Weirdly dressed assholes selling freaky shit. It wasn't just the ladies dressed in hardly more than a thought. That was bearable if he kept his eyes averted and his head all the way down. But he hardly recognized a thing these women were selling. The shouts that rang out in this black market as the shopkeepers hawked their wares were beyond his comprehension. Sect leader Shui understood all the words individually, but when they were put together... High Tongue Stories, the curated edition, featuring tales of lovely ladies and tender young men enjoying 9-fold temptations and 2 dragons in one cave. Every copy features the author Plum Blossoms Bloom Together's own handwritten signature. Oh, excuse me, I skipped a sentence. Full of spicy scenes, completely unmissable. 2 dragons, 1 cave. That's that's a way to describe that. Mr. Big, let's all do the Taikon jig. Our Mr. Bigs have been enchanted with our proprietary spells to expand the size of any cultivator listed on the size ranking of the cultivation world. Want to experience the same thrill as Chuzongsha? Find out what it's like to take both Kunlun twins at the same time. All you need is one Mr. Big, a pleasure you'll never forget. I can't do this. Oh. Oh my god. Listen to that. What on earth was going on? Despite his acute distress, Shuimeng still had to put on an unflappable act. Oh, that I'm sure is ironclad and no one could see through. When he snuck a look at Dayflower and realized she was watching him with a mocking glint in her eyes, Shuimeng couldn't stand it. He swaggered right up to the stall as if he were a frequent patron. I'll take 10 of these daikon spirits. Both the stall keeper and Miss Dayflower were at a loss for words. Girl, same. Shui Meng's almond eyes narrowed. What? He rubbed his nose. Do I have something on my face? It took the shopkeeper a long moment to put the words together. Begging your pardon, our Mr. Biggs are designed to mimic the entire top 10 on the Young Heroes ranking. Once unsealed, I assure you they're quite powerful and just like the real thing. You look very young. If you haven't reached the insatiable appetites of middle age, I think one will suffice. I've literally, it's gotten so funny. I've passed the ability to laugh. I have transcended laughter. Shui Meng was totally out of his depth. He looked down at the daikon radishes lying round and chubby in their brocade boxes, baffled as to what use these Mr. Biggs could possibly have once unsealed. What was this nonsense about size ranking? What insatiable appetites was this man referring to? Having the humility to ask questions when one didn't understand something was an admirable quality. It was only a pity Shui Meng didn't possess it. He thought the best men were independent thinkers, so he thought about it independently and pieced it together. Ah, youth. These Mr. Biggs must be like century-old ginseng, extremely potent when unsealed. You know, he got closer than I thought he would. Middle age was when lots of cultivators reached a plateau in their cultivation, so they'd have an insatiable need to supplement their training with spiritual ginseng. These Mr. Biggs were powerful, so one was enough for most people to break through the blockages in their meridians. It all made sense now. He got closer than I think most virgins would. Inwardly, Shui Meng loudly and raucously cheered for his own intellect. He turned to the shopkeeper, all arrogance. How could I be satisfied with just one? The man was stunned. You can take two at once, but you shouldn't select any from the top three. I may be selling on the black market, but I'm not black of heart. Please, I must make this clear to you. you Shui Meng was losing his patience. Just sell me what I asked for. You're asking for too much. The shopkeeper mopped his forehead. You won't be able to take it. A haughty snort. As if I haven't done this before. Forget two at once. I can go through 20 in a matter of days. How deep is this grave now? What would you say? About 20, 30 feet? They're in China, so, you know, actually, by the time we're done with this, I think he'll have dug through straight to America. The shopkeeper fell silent. He looked with respectful awe at Shui Meng's pale and thin lips, then flicked his eyes down to Shui Meng's. What are you looking at? Noticing the direction of his gaze, Shui Meng glared back. Do your job, don't ogle people. The shopkeeper hastily raised his eyes and cleared his throat. This one is impressed by your talents, honored customer. I'll just go package up 10 of these radish spirits for you. All in Mozungsha's size, was it? Shui Meng goggled. What do you mean, Mozungsha's size? What did this have to do with that dumbass Morun? He pondered the question. Aided by his extraordinary powers of deduction, he once again thought through it. Was it referring to how much spiritual energy Morun could handle? Well, Shui Meng wasn't going to take that one lying down. When it came to spiritual energy capacity among the younger cultivators, he was a close second to Morun. Scowling, Shui Meng said, No. I want Sect Leader Shui's size. The shopkeeper was flabbergasted. Please, you must be joking. Since when did Sect Leader Shui rank in the top 10 Shenzhen? Shui Meng's flabber was even more gasted. His temper erupted. Shui Ziming didn't place? The man didn't understand how they'd arrived here. Girl, same. How did an hour and 45 minutes ago, I was not here, and now I'm here. Why Shui Ziming? Veins were pulsing in Shui Meng's forehead. Why not Shui Ziming? These two squawked at each other like chickens, entirely overlooking the spectator Dayflower's deepening frown. Her limpid eyes swept over Shui Meng again and again. She stepped up and grabbed him by the arm. Shui Meng whirled. Men and women should keep their distance. Why are you grabbing me? Societal rules, and yet still funny. What with the latency? Do you know what these radish spirits are used for? Nonsense. They supplement your cultivation like ginseng. Both Dayflower and the shopkeeper froze. Dayflower turned back to the shopkeeper. I'll unseal one of these spirits. Put it on Guiueya's account. She pointed, and the sealing talismans popped off one of the brocade boxes. The quiescent radish spirit pulsed with a dazzling glow. Before their eyes, it turned into a shockingly lifelike, certainly realistic, huge and throbbing jade dildo. The kind that could thrust on its own. After a choked moment, Shui Meng turned an alarming shade of green. Like jade, you might say. He jabbed a finger at the shopkeeper. You, he yelled, narrowly avoiding biting his own tongue. You pervert! The poor man was baffled. You're the one who wanted them. You even said one wasn't enough to satisfy. Shui Meng wanted to erase those words from his memory. The green of his face gave way to a furious crimson, the two colors warring until at last he clutched his head and tried to flee, only to ram right into a sturdy torso. Dayflower stood in his way. But why did her body feel nothing like a girl's? She eyed him icily. Shui Meng jolted. How did you know? Who are you? Like we haven't been witnessing the most Shui Meng behavior to ever be exhibited, ever, by anyone? Even people who don't know him would be able to. Dayflower grabbed him by the collar and hauled him out of the House of Everlasting Night without another word, ignoring his yowling protests. Shui Meng found himself marched all the way to a quiet riverside pavilion, whereupon Dayflower flung him aside and turned from him with a wave of her sleeves. Her grip on his collar had nearly choked Shui Meng to death. Clutching his neck, he descended into a flurry of coughing. You dickhead! Who are you? Dayflower raised a slender hand. Jade light flashed past her fingertips, and before Shui Meng had realized what was happening, the Taobao Estate illusory sachets hanging from their waists disintegrated. I'm using my hand to cover the text. I don't know either, but this is when we find out together. Shui Meng's head snapped up so quickly he only narrowly avoided bashing his brains out on one of the pavilion pillars. You! The figure before him was tall and handsome, bedecked in lavish silver and green robes that swept the ground. Worked upon the fabric were the phoenix patterns of Guiueya, subtly embroidered with the most precious peacock silk thread. But all the splendid extravagance of his outfit was outdone by the presence of the wearer himself. His features were finely shaped, his lips tapering to a beautiful curve, his almond eyes brought to mind veils of smoky rain, with an inborn hauteur. Jiang Yuchen. Who else could this Dayflower Shenjun be but the sect leader of Guiyue and the wealthiest man in all the cultivation world? Madame Jiang, correction, Jiang Yuchen's next words shook Shui Meng to the core. You are such a disappointment. Shui Meng gaped. If not for the fact he'd been throttled to within an inch of his life a moment ago, he really might have beaten this man to death. Jiang Shi's complexion was smooth and clear, so how could he stand there and spout such thick-skinned nonsense without batting an eye? As the leader of a whole sect, how dare you squander your time doing this instead of bettering yourself? Absurd. Why are you here? By this point, the shock had worn off. Really? Because I'm still there. Shui Meng coughed again and let his hand fall from his throat, glaring at Jiang Shi. You're scolding me? Aren't you doing the same thing? You're young, snapped Jiang Shi. Instead of getting to know lady cultivators from respectable families the proper way, you let that snake oil salesman Ma Fengjie take you for a ride. What appropriate relationship could come from this? How foolish can you be? Shui Meng was equally enraged. Why don't you look in the mirror? You're not getting any younger. And back then with my mom, what gives you the right to go out and waste young people's time instead of staying put where you should be, minding Guigue's business? Just because you don't look old? Maybe you should have considered that your date might be younger than your son. Not that I'm saying I'm your son. Obviously, I'm just saying you're ridiculous. I can't take any of this. Similarly to the way that Shui Meng couldn't take. Jiang Shi's rage knew no bounds. He snapped his sleeves again and clenched his jaw. I was not trying to date anyone. Then what were you doing? Oh, I know. You wanted to study your competitor, Ma Zhuangju's devices. Is that it? And you call him a snake oil salesman. What about your house of everlasting night? Where's your sense of shame? Where's yours? A grown man picking a name like Little Snowflake. Don't you have a shred of dignity? Still none of your business. You're impudent. Oh, this is mature. Pooh. Shui Meng, Jiang Shi, Wang Xiaoshui, Jiang Dayflower. Jesus. You know, in some big ways, Shui Meng and Jiang Shi don't get along because they're so similar. An elderly couple leading their ox cart past the pavilion glanced at the bickering pair. Dear, what are those two young lovebirds arguing about in there? Asked the woman. Honey, said the man, your eyes are going. They're brothers. Huh? Isn't that one in green and silver a girl? He's a man, just a pretty one. Look, he's much taller than his little brother. Both Shui Meng and Jiang Shi were rendered totally speechless. Shui Meng stamped his foot. Look at you, so fresh-faced at your advanced age. All you do is take advantage of people. Jiang Shi sneered. This is always how it's been in the medicinal sect. Come join Guigueya if it bothers you so much. I never want to see you again, Shui Meng howled furiously. That old lady was right to call you a girl. I went by the name Wang Xiaoshui because the matching scroll made a mistake, but you totally chose Dayflower to make you sound like a woman. I chose it because... Because what? In italics, it says, because I love the sight of polyflowers in full bloom. But when he remembered these had been Wang Chuqing's favorite flower as well, he pursed his lips and fell silent to avoid another misunderstanding. See, you were trying to pretend, and you won't even own up to it. Jiang Shi jabbed a finger in Shui Meng's face, ready to teach this whelp a memorable lesson on the appropriate way to talk to one's seniors. But as the words lay upon his tongue, he realized arguing with this idiot on the banks of the river was beneath him. He slashed his hand downward in a huff. The pain in his chest had returned. Jiang Shi had turned away and coughed violently, covering his face with his sleeve. At first, Shui Meng thought he choked on his own spittle and privately gloated at the sight of his suffering. Yet, as the coughing worsened and those misty almond eyes glittered with tears, he grew concerned. Hey, what's wrong? The rims of Jiang Shi's eyes had reddened from the force of the fit. He lifted his pipe, fingers shaking, and took a few vicious drags. Smoking, when you can hardly breathe, yelped Shuimeng. Jiangshi ignored him. Somehow, after a few puffs on the pipe, his condition seemed to improve. He panted for breath and slowly straightened, then drifted to the side of the pavilion to stare at the rushing water outside. Get the hell back to Xisheng Peak. Your injuries from battle. There's no ailment that I, Jiang Yichen, cannot cure. This is no concern of yours whatsoever. Shuimeng's tentative overture of care was once again smacked down by Jiangshi. He stood there, caught between offering comfort and criticism, his entire face pinched with the effort. After a few more drags on his pipe, Jiangshi raised his head and slowly exhaled the smoke. Also, you're not a child anymore. It's high time you found someone appropriate and started a family. Don't waste your time with cheap, low-effort blind dates. If you're to choose a wife, you must know everything about her, from her temperament to her family, her cultivation, and her looks. You can't be lax about any of the above. He paused, frowning. It is not something Ma Fengzhi's matching scroll can do for you. Shuimeng's eyes widened. Jiang Yichen, are you kidding me? You're the one who said love is a disease. I'd understand if it were anyone else telling me to hurry up and get married, but what's your problem? Jiang Yichen turned aside indifferently. Love is indeed a disease, but that only applies to me. A pause. Not in your case. For you, childlessness is a disease. You need to get married. Shuimeng's jaw dropped again. He'd never been more grateful that his dad was Shui Jingyong and not Jiang Yichen. Who in the world had double standards as ridiculous as Jiangshi's? There's a question you probably shouldn't ask in the mirror. This piece of work cut ties whenever it suited him, but here he was, being rushed to the altar? Jiang Yichen really was a scumbag. When Shuimeng returned to Xisheng Peak, he furiously crossed out Dayflower's card and ripped it into little pieces. The less Jiangshi wanted him to use the matching scroll, the more he damn well would. Okay. All right. You got me. Okay? I hadn't thought of that. He'd never let that honorable businessman, Master Ma's gift basket, end up in the hands of the evil salesman Jiangshi. Passionate flames erupted in Shuimeng's heart. He spread out the cards once again and studied the remaining candidates. He'd learned his lesson. Now that he knew the matching scroll might give him men, he made up his mind to go through each card carefully. At the very least, he had to choose a girl his own age this time. Shui Ziming was not going down without a fight. There's a really great joke about going down in there somewhere. After careful analysis, the card the brave fighter Shui Ziming selected belonged to someone who went by Mistreated and described themselves as a neglected consort. The matching scroll might allow for a mix of genders, but would a man call himself a neglected consort? This was surely a pitiful little maiden. The description of Mistreated was as follows. Oh, God. Mistreated. Strange in temperament, but straightforward by nature. Can be erratic and unpredictable. Possesses a formidable weapon. Having been neglected. Excuse me, I just blue screened. Having been neglected by their one true love and abandoned to the darkness of long and lonely nights for over a decade, Mistreated Shenjiang is extraordinarily obsessed with and fixated on having and showing affection. Is unhealthy about it to the point of frequent suspicion and self-doubt. Perhaps only the gentlest and most indulgent partner could heal mistreated scars and ignite the fires of love in this forsaken heart. Hobbies. Heart-pounding romps. It had to be said that Shuimeng had a naturally kind heart. Any normal person would have stayed far away from a potential date like that, but Shuimeng chose her on purpose. And not just because she was definitely a girl. Shuimeng picked her because the words on the card truly moved him. Left alone, obsessive, and affection-starved, full of self-doubt and with a scarred heart. The poor thing! The man who'd abandoned her must be cold and shameless. A real Jiangshi number 2. A right scumbag of the cultivation world. My face literally hurts. Anyway, he wasn't actually trying to date her. But this girl's situation was so tragic that it was almost inevitable that no one would choose her, and then her heart would be further wounded. She'd sink deeper into anxiety and turmoil. What a heartbreaking story. She liked heart-pounding romps, so she was definitely a bit impulsive. What if, in her despair, she became mad enough to hurt herself? Shuimeng wouldn't let it happen on his watch. All of Shui Jingyong's teachings echoed in his ears. Feel the pain of others. The world has too much strife. Ease it where you can. Thus Shuimeng, whose heart was just as full of righteousness and compassion as his daddy's, made an admirable choice. Yes, he would bring warmth to Mistreated. Actions spoke louder than words. Shuimeng immediately messaged Mistreated through the scroll and asked to meet in 3 days' time with the illusory sachets on. They would rendezvous in Wuchang Town, Sichuan. That's the end of the chapter. Somebody remind me really quickly, Tuxedo, if you're here, because I failed to write down where I was stopping today on my handy notes thing. Am I reading chapter 5 or no? I can't remember. I kind of want to say maybe yes. I am. Fantastic. Ooh. 1 through 5. Amazing. She's not doing this and then not giving me what I want, you see. Soon enough, it was the day of his date with Mistreated. This time, Shuimeng came ready to make a friend and benevolently mentor a heartbroken young woman. He wasn't trying to one-up her on anything, so the venue he chose and his overall attitude were night and day from his date with that lying piece of crap Jiangxi. Wuchang Town was Shuimeng's own backyard. He knew where to find the best food and drink at the best prices without even bothering to look. He chose a casual place he often patronized himself. Their stir-fries and gudong pot offerings were by far the best in town, but the spot was at an inn a little out of the way and might be hard to find if one didn't know where to look. He stepped into a private booth and was just about to message Mistreated directions when he heard a slightly husky but nonetheless rich and melodious voice. "Hey," the woman said. "Shopkeep, I'm looking for someone named Wang Xiaoshui." "Wang Xiaoshui?" The lady sounded impatient. "A customer." Shui Meng lifted the half-rolled curtain of the booth and peered out. Beside the bar stood a tall and slender female cultivator who looked to be in her late 20s. She was stunning. Her ink-dark tresses tumbled around her shoulders, and her eyes, so dark they gleamed purple, were framed by long, smoky lashes. Her fitted cultivator's robes, black-edged in gold, showed to the best advantage the taper of her waist and the length of her legs. Her aura was impossible to miss. She had an air of command, yet there was a certain wildness in her gaze. The illusory brocade sachet had recast her voice and looks, but it was clear Mistreated was tall and exceedingly beautiful. Spotting Shui Meng, Mistreated cast him a sideways glance and strode over. "So you're the one who asked to meet me?" "I am." "Good. You have great taste." She proceeded to sit down across from Shui Meng, arms folded, every line of her body boasting of her strength and power. We've already had more mention, I think. This might be wishful thinking, but it feels like we've had more mentions of like body and beauty and stunning in like 4 sentences than in the entirety of when Shui Meng thought he was, the other time Shui Meng thought he was in front of a girl. Based on the card's description, Shui Meng had expected a weeping mess of a girl dripping with sorrow and resentment. He was shocked by her unapologetic boldness. On the other hand, Shui Meng wasn't much good at consoling sobbing women. Mistreated's unshakable resolve, despite her history of heartbreak, instantly raised her in his esteem. Also, you want to talk about hypocrisy? Shui Meng wasn't much good at consoling sobbing women. Yet, he specifically chose this profile to console her. Unfortunately, Shui Meng wasn't much good at giving compliments either. The number of people he'd praised in his entire life could be counted on one hand, 3 fingers to be specific: his dad, his mom, and his shizun. It took him a veritable age to form a few awkward syllables. It must be very hard. For you went unsaid. Mistreated had been staring out the window since she sat down. At this, she fixed those purple eyes on Shui Meng like a falcon sighting a rabbit. "You can tell?" she asked, after a considerable pause. Okay. All right. You know what? I'm going to recover from that. While you guys look at the art. You're still strutting around like a queen after getting ditched, thought Shui Meng. Only an idiot wouldn't notice such mental fortitude. He nodded. Mistreated rubbed her nose and smirked in a strangely threatening way. True enough. It's always either that status or riches with you lot. Slouching back, she braced her hands on the chair and tilted her chin in Shui Meng's direction. Go ahead and order. She spoke with unquestionable authority. Coming out of her mouth, those 4 words somehow sounded like an imperial decree, unnerving Shui Meng, but also ticking him off. He glared at her. What you looking at? Mistreated's eyes were coolly indifferent. Yet even like this, they held a faint allure. Crossing one leg over the other, she loosened her too tight collars with one fair-skinned finger. Wanna fuck? Shuemong jolted. What? The poor downtrodden maiden Mistreated launched a second psychological volley at the sweet, wholesome boy Shuemong. I said, what are you looking at? Do you want to fuck? Shuemong couldn't breathe. His cheeks went red, then white, then red again. He jerked his chin up indignantly. Aren't you ashamed? You best watch your mouth. She's trying to. Mistreated arched a brow and looked at him with a twist of her pale lips that dimpled her cheeks. Isn't that why you asked to meet? Matching scroll, they say. One tumble in the sheets is a match for the greatest sorrow. What are you saying? Shuemong twitched and nearly leapt to his feet. Under normal circumstances, anyone who said such things to sect leader Shui would have been cut to ribbons by Longcheng. But Shuemong knew Mistreated's painful history and was aware of her high-strung tendencies. He's still clinging to this profile, by the way. Reminding himself of his goal to set this poor maiden to rights, Shuemong took a breath and managed to keep from drawing his scimitar. I thought that's what she just asked you to do. Even then, he was so mad his nostrils were flaring. How can you speak like that? That wasn't my intention at all. Oh, is that so? Mistreated looked much more invested in the proceedings now. Uncrossing her legs, she finally sat up straight. Good to know. Then we're on the same page here. To be honest, I've washed my dick of that whole business and turned over a new bedsheet. I wouldn't fuck you even if you asked. Shuemong pressed his hands over his ears, so distressed he didn't realize his date had used such inventive language that even the matching scroll hadn't been able to parse it, thus revealing his gender. Will you please stop with the obscenity? You know, when you act all dumb and flustered like this, you remind me of someone. Fine, I won't say it if you don't want me to, but you have to do me a favor. Shuemong looked up, unaccountably anxious. This woman was terrifying. What kind of favor? What kind of favor? Date me, said Mistreated. Shuemong nearly flipped the table. Didn't you say you weren't looking to date? Why are you getting your panties in a twist? Let me finish. Mistreated rolled her eyes. I don't mean for real. I want you to pretend to date me. Why? A vicious glint shone in Mistreated's eyes. A vicious glint shone in Mistreated's eyes. She slapped her hand down on the table and leaned forward, voice low. I want to make someone jealous. Who? My real lover. Shuimeng boggled. So, this young woman had been abandoned for so many years to the point of driving herself insane with doubt and anxiety, and she was still hung up on some cultivation world loser. Instead of making a clean break, it seemed the two were still involved. And here she was, going to the effort of finding a fake boyfriend to make her real boyfriend jealous. Did this Mistreated not have a working brain after all? Is that a no? She asked. Shuimeng took a moment to compose himself. I'll be honest, she said. I've met up with quite a few people through this matching scroll. Either they ran away as soon as they heard me out, or they were sneakily hoping to actually score. Noting Shuimeng's continued silence, she continued, It's fine if you're not interested. We can end things here. I'll think of something else. What else? Heart-pounding self-harm? Shuimeng felt a headache coming on. He kneaded at his temples, then waved his hands and pushed the menu forward. Sure, I'll do it. My dad told me saving one life is worth a whole pagoda of merits. I'll help you out, okay? Mistreated's eyes lit up. Really? A gentleman's word is as good as gold. If I say I will, then I will, as long as it helps cheer you up. Shuimeng sighed. Should we talk as we eat? Take a look, my treat. Mistreated raised a hand. Don't bother. Just as Shuimeng was starting to wonder if her bright idea was to skip dinner and sleep instead, she snapped her fingers. Shopkeep, all your priciest dishes for this venerable, for me. No idea. No idea which page I'm supposed to be on between these two. Here we are. This time, it wasn't just his nostrils that flared. Shuimeng's jaw dropped and his eyes widened. Where'd this bandit queen come from? Was this girl completely uncivilized? Who ordered food like that? You, shrieked Shuimeng. Don't you know how shameful it is to waste food? The old ball and chain says the same thing. Mistreated narrowed her eyes. So I'm going to waste the hell out of food today, and you better keep your mouth shut about it. Otherwise, I'll order everything on the menu, everything in this inn. Mistreated's attitude shocked Shuimeng to the core. Are you from Taobao Estate by any chance? No. A rich Lin Yi merchant? Nope. Guyueya of Yangzhou? Mistreated snorted. Guyueya? Who the hell do they think they are? Not even fit to hold my shoes. Shuimeng blinked. Why did this feel so neglected for 10 years? It's... I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. I hate this woman. Shuimeng blinked. Why did this feel so familiar? The hot dishes in the gudong pot would take some time, but the appetizers arrived soon enough. Shuemeng glanced at the plate of tripe marinated with chili peppers and had a realization. You said you're from Linan, didn't you? Can you handle spice? Why not? Said Mistreated, snatching her chopsticks. I love spice. She grabbed a few slices of tripe and shoved them straight into her mouth. That's the stuff. I've been craving this for so long. If you like it so much, asked Shuemeng, who's stopping you from eating it normally? My lover can't handle anything spicy. He doesn't let you eat spicy food just because he doesn't like it? Spice aficionado Shuemeng was immediately indignant. What a disgrace! At least get a twin pot. It's not that he won't let me have it, it's that I won't let me have it. Shuemeng's eyes widened. What? Mistreated seemed to want to explain the situation, but then realized it would be a very long story. She pursed her lips, unhappy. It's 'cause I'm a goddamn piece of work. There it was, the self-doubt and anxiety the matching scroll had mentioned. Enough. Mistreated changed the subject. Let's talk about how you're going to pretend to be my fake lover to piss off my real lover. Sure, Shuemeng replied, but why are you trying to piss him off? Mistreated scoffed, features twisting as she gnashed her teeth. Because he lost the pouch I gave him. Didn't he neglect you for years? Wondered Shuemeng. What's losing a pouch in comparison? You should be used to that. But Mistreated was still shaking. Shuemeng couldn't get a word in edgewise. I gave it to him for the Qixi festival this year, he cried. She cried. That's still not as bad as him ignoring you. I've never given anyone a present like that, Mistreated continued, voice rising in anger. He doesn't like any jewels or treasures. He has no interest in armor diagrams, so I did my best to make him a pouch with my own 2 hands, only for this ungrateful brute to treat it like dirt. Oh, that did sound pretty bad. Mistreated pressed her lips into a tight line, enraged and embarrassed. She seemed to be struggling, unsure if she should continue. Just as Shuemeng thought she had given up, she slammed her hand on the table and burst out with, It'd be one thing if he just lost mine, but he still fucking wears the one someone else gave him. What the hell does he mean by that? Is he trying to rub it in my face? Shuemeng blinked. He received another brocade pouch. Is he with someone else? Why else would I try to make him jealous? Mistreated snarled. I want him to know the number of admirers this I have is in the thousands. If he doesn't cherish me like I deserve, other people are going to be lining up for me. I don't need him at all. If he doesn't make it up to me, I'll disappear. He and that hoity-toity slut can live happily ever after. That's the end of the chapter. When we come back on Tuesday, we will be on page 67 for chapter 6 of the bonus story, Shuemeng's Blind Date Adventures. It wasn't 100% fitting Mei Han Shui, but could have been there were different reasons to kind of excuse that, even though it was somewhat vaguely curious. I'm stunned. I have to quote Golden Girls. Stunned is the only way to describe how stunned I am. we have book chats on Tuesdays and Thursdays for patrons and YouTube members to discuss what we read in the previous stream. So on Tuesday, we'll be talking about what we read today. And God, maybe my face will have recovered by then. It hurts. Okay. So, I've got to go. I have a little bit more of a cushion in time for reading these days, which is good because it's like 5:23. But I still have to go. So, I cannot really articulate how much fun I'm having and also how utterly fucking gagged I am. So maybe I'll be able to put that into words on Tuesday. But until then, have a lovely weekend. Welcome to volume 11 of Erha. And I'll see you on Tuesday. Please take care of yourselves.